Dan Rather with the CBS Evening News. Congratulations, KFVS12 and Heartland News, for 50 great years of serving America's heartland.
In the next hour, see how a tiny 50-watt radio station became the #1 television station in America's heartland. Relive those early days of TV.
How sweet it is.
And witness the birth of Mr. Television. See the cartoon characters that you loved as a kid.
You got to delegate responsibility.
And hear how your favorite news anchors got their start.
And I am scared to death.
Plus, where are they now? We'll track down some memorable faces from the past.
I am the Mike Shane of Boise, Idaho.
From commercials.
There were 2 neighbors, Sally and Susie.
To the weather.
People still say, Don said it would, and once in a while it did.
And everything in between. Oh. This is the KFVS12 50th Anniversary Special.
Hello and welcome. I'm Marianne Maloney, part of the Heartland News team since 1988. And this is what KFVS12 looks like today. We produce more than 27 hours of local news every week with live microwave and satellite technology, live weather radar, advanced graphic systems, and a professional staff of more than 100 employees handling news, sales, marketing, operations, programming, and engineering. But how did KFVS12 get to this point? To answer that, you have to go all the way back to 1925, back when Calvin Coolidge was in the White House, Al Capone ran the mob in Chicago, and a young engineer by the name of Oscar C. Hirsch had dreams of building a radio station in his hometown of Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
He started out with a little battery shop over on Frederick Street and started dabbling in radio, made himself some receivers, and eventually built a transmitter.
And he built the tower in the backyard, the transmitter, I mean, just everything.
Using a homemade 50-watt transmitter and a microphone donated by the Lions Club, Mr. Hirsch sent the first KFVS signal from the living room of his mother's Cape Girardeau home.
This was before the FCC existed, and the Department of Commerce Secretary Herbert Hoover assigned the call letters to the stations that were given permits. He or someone under him chose KFVS, and that's what it's been ever since. I wish it had been something more easy to pronounce.
And you know, he started out in radio without commercials. That was a totally non-commercial production.
A few years later, Mr. Hirsch began selling advertising on KFVS radio while still using that original microphone donated by the Lions Club.
When he went commercial, he had to pay them because they gave it to him on the premise that it would not be a commercial radio station.
He was honest, he was hardworking, he was energetic, and he was just a real smart man.
There are no words to describe the thing that is happening. The courage of the people, the flash and roar of the guns rolling down the streets.
By the summer of 1943, the United States was at war, and KFVS Radio, now a 250-watt operation, was still the only station in town. Meanwhile, a young Don McNeely was working in a Cape Girardeau print shop.
I was 16, I had just completed my junior year in high school, and I was working in a print shop over on Sprigg Street. And I had a call from a former teacher of mine, Virginia Bond, asking me if I'd like to audition to be an announcer at KFVS Radio. Well, naturally, I jumped at the chance. It sure beat working in that hot, sweaty print shop. And the whole idea of being a radio announcer I found very appealing and glamorous.
7 p.m. Eastern Wartime. Bob Trout reporting. The Japanese have accepted our terms fully. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the Second World War.
Television was invented prior to World War II, but it wasn't until after the war that permits were granted to actually build TV stations. The larger cities got first crack.
I was the only person in my neighborhood who had a TV set, and in order to get any reception at all prior to KFVS TV, I had to put a 40-foot antenna on top of that house to get St. Louis or Memphis on a good day.
I got to see some of it, but I really only heard it. I didn't see it. There was so much snow.
In May of 1951, Mr. Hirsch filed an application for a permit to build a full-power television broadcasting station in Cape Girardeau on Channel 12. 2 years later, KWK in St. Louis also filed for Channel 12. The people of this region were outraged and not about to give up the hope of getting a local television station without a fight.
We had competition. Other people wanted the license.
Hirsch and the Cape Girardeau Chamber of Commerce organized a massive petition drive, gathering some 40,000 signatures, almost double the population of Cape at that time, requesting that KWK withdraw its application. The plan worked.
Because originally we had been allocated a UHF channel, way up around 23 or so. UHF didn't have the coverage that VHF had. He wanted a VHF station between channels 2 and 13. So 12 was a good one.
And it was unheard of to do this in the middle of a small community where, you had countryside to broadcast to.
With his channel assignment in hand, Oscar knew he needed a tall tower to reach a large audience. The first tower he built was the tallest structure in the state of Missouri, 892 feet. A tower that would broadcast to 1 million people. In fact, the KFVS viewing area would later be nicknamed the Million Area. The tower's construction drew as many as 10,000 onlookers.
First tower, though, I sold sodas with my cousins because people came from all over to just stand there and watch them construct it.
With the tower complete, a date was set. KFVS TV would begin broadcasting on Channel 12 on October 3rd, 1954. But a funny thing happened. Even before October 3rd, people were watching KFVS TV. George Fieser of Paducah, Kentucky wrote,
"We have been watching your test pattern for the past week now, and your signal has been coming in without a flaw."
People used to sit around and watch the test pattern on the television before we went on the air because it was such a novelty.
One night, after we'd been on the air the first night or so, we got a card from somebody 70 miles away saying, "My wife and I sat up last night and watched your test pattern from midnight till 1 a.m. and it was the most beautiful picture we've ever seen." Actually, it was a good, clear picture, which they had never seen before. But imagine just sitting there and watching the test pattern.
You'd sit there and watch the test pattern, and they'd play some music or something, or run a 1,000-cycle tone. Beep! But that's entertainment.
When October 3rd finally arrived, a small group of radio station employees became television pioneers, ready or not.
Dennis Slinkard, who was office manager and Mr. Hirsch's right-hand man, was pressed into service the night we went on the air to run the projectors and load the film. And he didn't know how.
Film reel dropped off of the projector and started rolling down the floor. Of course, I was hard after it trying to catch it and put it back on before we lost any of the frames.
And Dennis ran after it, got it, and tried to thread it back on and get it back on the machine. And somehow he did it without breaking the film and without interrupting the program.
So I always remember that. That was one of my scary moments.
But those of us in the control room were in stitches.
Primitive as it was, people of the region were thrilled to finally welcome a strong local television signal into their living rooms. Mrs. John Turner of Chester wrote,
"I've had a television set for 2 years, and this is the first time we've really enjoyed it."
Paul Salmon of Mound City added,
"We picked up your station on Channel 12 perfect. The clearness is unbelievable."
And P.H. Moore of Charleston went so far as to write,
"In my opinion, KFVS TV will go in the record as being the biggest and the most influential event in the history of Southeast Missouri."
You spent hundreds of dollars for a TV set, back when hundreds of dollars would buy you a very nice automobile. And back in days when people made $35, $40 a week fully employed, and you bought a television set. And now you could get a picture on the television set. No, you didn't talk about 700 channels. You talked about one channel that you could actually see a picture and no snow.
The first time I looked into them, their eyes.
But Mr. Raymond Ross of Murray, Kentucky, noted that there was something missing in those early KFVS newscasts.
Why don't we see your news reporters as we listen to the news?
When we first started, we didn't have a camera. We didn't have one of these things that sit here and take our pictures now.
We didn't have a news department in the beginning, but we did read a newscast every evening at 10 o'clock. But we had no live camera, so we had to do it over black and white slides. After several months, the two cameras were acquired from a station in Festus that went bankrupt, a UHF station. And Mr. Hirsch went up there and at auction bought 2 GE cameras.
On behalf of the Moulton Irrigation Company, we'll say so long and see you soon on Watching the Weather.
So suddenly we were able to go live, and that was a big step forward because can't imagine a television station without a camera.
The inside is soft, fresh, and delicious.
With cameras came local stardom.
So is the crust.
So for the first time, we could actually put these famous television announcers out in front of the public and get them indelibly impressed on their mind for eternity.
Most viewers, especially children, don't know the difference between local and network. And they see Walter Cronkite on the air, and then they see me coming on with the weather, and for all they know, we're both in the same studio.
Coming up, KFVS television was a hit with the viewers from the start, but it would take the world's tallest man-made structure to get the advertisers' attention.
And you look down and you're incredibly high, and you think, I'm not even halfway yet.
Plus, the birth of The Breakfast Show. And later, the Heartland's most famous rooster is born.
How a Pat Bristol feeds.
I'm John Roberts from CBS News. Congratulations, KFVS12 and Heartland News, for 50 great years of serving America's heartland.
When we went on the air with television in 1954, I suggested to Mr. Hirsch that we shorten the call letters and just call it KFTV. And he didn't like my suggestion.
KFVS. Try saying that 3 times fast.
They're bad call letters. They don't roll off the tongue.
Because to the ear they sound like KFES rather than V.
I'm Jeff Cunningham. Welcome back to the KFVS 50th Anniversary Special. Now, though the call letters may be a bit difficult to pronounce, early newscasts were relatively simple. It was the novelty that attracted viewers.
We did no news gathering at all. All we did was rip a 5-minute newscast from the teletype and read it.
To Jack Benny.
And in the mid-50s, television was only available in the evening hours.
When we first went on the air, we were only broadcasting from about 5 o'clock to maybe 11 o'clock.
It was Oscar Hirsch himself who came up with the idea to bring morning programming to the region. Don McNeely came up with the name.
By about 1957 or 8, we went on the air with The Breakfast Show. And people thought we were crazy because television stations did not come on the air and program at that hour of the day. It just wasn't done. There was a guy named Don McNeil in Chicago who had a network radio program called Don McNeil and the Breakfast Club. And people invariably would say, well, are you any kin to this Don McNeely in Chicago? No, it's the wrong name. But I did like the name of his show, The Breakfast Club, and so I kind of stole that and we called it The Breakfast Show.
Early versions of The Breakfast Show were filled with more entertainment than news. Jim Rhodes had the unique title of Breakfast Show Organist.
I lived only a block away from the studio, so if an interview hadn't shown up, they would call me and pry me out of bed to come down and play theater organ in the place of the interview. I didn't know who would like to have organ music with their breakfast, you know. I just couldn't fathom it. But the fact was I was getting paid, so I gave them organ music with their breakfast time.
The Breakfast Show was an instant hit with viewers.
Don McNeely walked back to Versatile Television Productions one morning and he said, Jim, your Nielsen rating is in. And I hardly even knew what a Nielsen was. And he told me the number of viewers we had per morning. and didn't take me but a moment to realize it was over double the population of Cape Girardeau. And of course, now that scared me to death. And I think for the next week, all I did was play wrong notes then.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
While KFVS12 has been affiliated with the CBS television network since the very beginning, shows from other networks did occasionally find their way onto the early Channel 12 lineup.
In the first few months, we weren't able to fill up our whole schedule with CBS shows. And since ABC and NBC were not in this market yet, they asked us to carry some of their shows on film.
And that's what I'm here to tell you about tonight, a Western. A new television show called Gunsmoke.
In 1957, the most popular program on television was the CBS Western Gunsmoke. 50 million Americans watched James Arness play Marshal Dillon every Saturday night. That year, Mr. Arness paid a memorable visit to KFVS12.
The man who plays the role of Marshal Matt Dillon of Dodge City, James Arness. Jim, come on in to meet the folks.
It was the most popular program in early television, and he was the biggest star.
But unlike other Westerns, I don't think you've kissed your horse yet either, have you?
No, not really. He's too ugly.
And he came not only to Cape, but down to our studio and did an interview. It was a big deal.
Is it going to go on forever as long as the American public wants it, or is there some plan to film so many and quit?
Well, I hope it goes on forever.
He's about 6'5" and bulky. And I felt like I was looking at Gargantua.
The Honorable Walter H. Ford. Mayor Ford, Jim Arness.
Yes, sir.
Jim, as mayor of the city of Cape Girardeau, I'm very happy to welcome you to our fair city.
He's a very reclusive person, always has been. And shortly after I did that interview with him, and we happened to get it on film and still have it, he let it be known that henceforth he was not doing interviews. So I must have turned him off.
Other CBS stars of the day also made appearances on KFVS.
You do that once more, you're going to have to marry me.
Met Clint Eastwood back in the days where he was Rowdy Yates on Rawhide. And he got well acquainted with everybody in the building, especially the young secretaries there. I remember that well.
I didn't come here to get thanked.
Look at me, I'm thirsty.
This was truly the golden age of television, but there were problems. KFVS was not always able to broadcast the best shows CBS had to offer. That's because in the late 50s, it was the national advertisers, not the network, who determined which shows would air in which parts of the country.
We had difficulty selling ourselves to the national advertisers because they had never heard of Cape Girardeau or Paducah.
The major soap companies were sponsors of a bunch of CBS programs, and they didn't think there was a market between St. Louis and Memphis.
It didn't go too well for the first few years, and only 6 years after we went on the air, Mr. Hirsch took the amazing gamble and tremendous step of tearing down the old TV tower and building a brand new one that was much, much higher to give us a much larger coverage area.
In 1960, Mr. Hirsch chose a site 8.5 miles north of Cape Girardeau near Egypt Mills as a location for his new tower. A tower that would stand an amazing 1,676 feet tall, 2,000 feet above average terrain.
With that height, we achieved a huge television audience, and for a long time, we billed ourselves as the big coverage station.
Broadcasting with 316,000 watts of effective radiated power, the new tower delivered the KFVS television signal into the homes of more than 2.7 million people.
And when built, that tower was the tallest structure on Earth, which really put us on the map. The advertising agencies really took note.
The fact that my dad was able to build a market here, I think gives me as much pride as anything else I can think of. When you think about what that means, that people are able to sell products and market products because they can reach people and advertise, that was not done, at least not on a regional basis, until this television station.
The inside is soft, fresh, and delicious. And so is the crust.
Commercials provide the fuel that runs a television station.
There were two neighbors, Sally and Susie. They kept house exactly alike except for one thing.
The price fight is on. It's Food Town against inflation.
Versatile Productions was the creative arm of KFVS, charged with producing local television ads.
When inflation sweeps the nation and your dollar shrinks in size, play a hunch, join the bunch. Food Town swings a savings punch. Guard against high prices. Remember that Food Town knocks inflation flat.
Food Town Discount Supermarkets, the champion price fighters.
Rugged enough to stand the toughest wear and wash.
While many early commercial announcements starred Don McNeely, some of the most memorable characters were actually characters.
When you're king of the barnyard, you got to delegate responsibility.
I remember, first of all, which everybody still talks about even to this day, the Gristo Rooster.
Keep up your flock's energy with power-packed Gristo feeds.
The Gristo Rooster would come out, I say there,
Nobody looking, I'll just kick it out where I can hit it. Yay! Keep your critters on the ball with a good supply of Gristo feed.
It was so funny to watch.
Uh-oh.
Jerry Hollis was the creative man. He was the chief animator and the head of the animation staff.
In the old days, they produced commercials just like, Walt Disney produced his cartoons, animated.
Every cell was hand-drawn, and it takes 24 cells to make 1 second of action. 740 frames for a 30-second commercial, and that's almost how many drawings would have to be done.
It was the old-fashioned animation, where, it's cell by cell by cell.
It's free in the 5-state area.
But those early commercials gained wide acclaim for Versatile. Soon, they were producing spots for national clients.
Please, ma'am, I wish you wouldn't do that. Archway cookies really are home style.
Biggest national account that I can remember offhand was called Archway Cookies. And we did quite a few Archway for Archway Cookies.
From honest to goodness housewives?
That's right. Now, please don't hit me again. You're going to try my patience.
No, thank you, Sonny. I don't want to try your patience, but I will try your Archway cookies.
We were doing, the Bunny Bread commercial, Little Rabbit Riding a Horse.
Here comes George, the home run king. Bunny Bread puts the zing in his swing. Easy biting bread that tastes the best. That's Bunny Bread. It's powerful fresh.
That's what I said. Bunny Bread.
Ah, that's what I said. Bunny Bread.
Soon, other television stations in much larger cities were hiring Jerry Hollis and the Versatile team.
You couldn't drive in any part of the United States without seeing something that had been produced by Versatile.
First in color, Channel 5.
Canal 30, WITA-TV, San Juan, Puerto Rico.
I think it was the last animation project I did was the little weather owl sitting on a limb, asleep one night, and lightning strikes.
The late weather comes to you each weeknight following the news.
And he's jolted awake and gets his little umbrella out.
The weather owl would come on. I remember I hated it at the time, and I worked with it because the thing ran about a minute.
For the early morning weather, watch the Channel 12 breakfast show.
Well, we decided at some point we weren't going to run that anymore. Probably my first year here, and they took it away, and lo and behold, the public outcry was incredible.
I think people my age and older, and even some younger, would remember the owl and say, hey, that's a part of KFVS television.
Coming up, the man who built the world's tallest structure was about to build Cape Girardeau's first skyscraper. Plus, a pair of eager young reporters get their shot.
I have no business being on television.
And where are they now? we'll track down some of your favorite former Heartland News reporters.
I left to go to seminary.
When the KFVS12 50th Anniversary Special continues.
Congratulations, KFVS.
For 50 years of serving America's heartland.
I'm Amy Jaquin, part of the Heartland News team since 1994. Welcome back to the KFVS12 50th Anniversary Special. What began in 1925 as a 50-watt radio station in Oscar Hirsch's mother's home was, by the mid-60s, a full-power television station serving more than 2 million people in parts of 6 states. KFVS12 was the big coverage station. With success came the need to expand, and in the winter of 1966, ground was broken on what would become the tallest building in Cape Girardeau.
The first camera I used was a Bell & Howell, and we wound it literally like a toy, and that was how I shot the building of this building here.
Yes, it was true. Cape Girardeau, the all-American city, was building its first skyscraper.
Mr. Hirsch liked to do things that brought us publicity and attention and brought in business. He decided we had to have a tower to beam our microwave to the transmitter 9 miles north of town.
Like layers on a cake, the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors quickly took their place atop the other.
So why not build a tall, slender building and make it a microwave tower and an office building and a studio building all in one?
A momentous occasion. At long last, the frosting was added to our 13-layer cake.
Dad said at one time he'd wanted to prove he wasn't superstitious, but 13 stories was really the height we needed for that microwave.
Most people said it's far too big, but we look at it today and we're glad it is that size.
And the proud citizens of this all-American city can be equally proud of Cape Girardeau's first skyscraper.
And so this experiment in coeducational corrections is over.
In 1970, just 2 years after completion of the Hirsch building, a fresh-faced Bob Reeves landed a job at TV12. He learned very quickly what it meant to work for Oscar C. Hirsch.
That $237 million coal gasification facility at New Athens may be delayed 2 years or eliminated entirely. When I came to work here, there were 4 of us who were on the air. And if you count Ron, there were 5 people total involved in the production of a newscast. And those people did the breakfast show, the noon news, the early evening news, and the late night news. And we had news 7 days a week.
One of the reputations Dad had was that you could work hard and you could get it done, and you didn't need 5 people to do it.
Mr. Hirsch was a very work-driven individual. He expected that of his employees, and he certainly did that himself.
My vision of him is he would come in after work just for supper, and then he'd go back to work.
Said, I'll tell you what I'll bet. I'll bet you $10 that we'll put television on the air without hiring more than 5 extra people. I won that bet.
In 1972, Mike Shane, a radio reporter from Sykeston, was offered a position with KFVS12, but before he could start, Mr. Hirsch wanted an audition tape.
You know, I'd come up dressed casually, and so they said, here, you need to dress up a little bit. So I went around the station, and I picked out a bit of clothing here, a bit of clothing there, you know, the people that left around. It was the most god-awful combination you have ever seen. I looked like something that walked out of the, I don't know, the gay 90s or something. I would never want to be seen in that again, except Paul Keener has saved that tape, found it somewhere, and they play it over and over and over again.
They arrested a self-styled spiritual advisor for theft yesterday. It seems she told a customer to put a $20 bill on the table, and she said she could make it disappear. It did. Police did not buy her explanation that the spirits took it.
Besides being dressed rather shabbily, I also badly needed a haircut.
Unfortunate wardrobe aside, Mike Shane became a member of the TV12 news team. He still remembers his first night on the air.
It was 9:59 p.m. on a Saturday night. I sat there at the news desk and I thought, I'm going to be on TV in about 60 seconds. I have no business being on television, My career should be in radio. Here I sit, and I am scared to death. And I thought, I can't run, so I guess I just have to sit here and do the news. And when I got finished, I found out that, you know, it's painless.
Senator Wendell Ford of Kentucky winning by a 2-to-1 margin in his bid for re-election.
In 1978, Oscar Hirsch, now in his 80s, surprised many when he announced that he was selling KFVS television, the station he had fought so hard to acquire, the station he had practically built with his own 2 hands.
One of the things that I remember about him was his tenacity. When he would start to do something, he would stick with it until he got it finished, and there wasn't anything that would get in his way. If there were obstacles, he removed them. If he had to do something different or a little bit change or something, he would do that, but his basic idea, he was just moving forward with that all the time.
By the 1990s, Mr. Hirsch's health was failing.
I walked up to him and I said, hello, Mr. Hirsch. He looked up at me and he didn't really know who I was. And Jerry said, Oscar, this is Dennis. You remember Dennis? And he didn't. It just like broke my heart. When I think about it now, it makes me want to tear up. Because I think I loved him like a father. I really did. He was a good fellow, and I liked him a lot.
Oscar C. Hirsch passed away in 1992 at the age of 96. He will always be remembered as a true American broadcast pioneer.
You know how when you're little and you break down on the highway and sometimes there's a fear of this isn't going to work out or we're going to be stranded or whatever. I always knew he knew how to fix it. It did, you know, whatever it was, he was going to be able to fix it, and he always did.
That's a Molten Portable Irrigation System, who now bring you Don McNeely and the weather.
Hello again. The Molten Irrigation Company welcomes you to another edition of Watching the Weather.
If there has been one constant over the past 50 years on KFVS, it's reporting the weather.
As by game time, temperatures should be back down into the 40-degree range.
What really affects the lives of people in this part of the country is weather.
Oscar Hirsch understood the importance of warning viewers.
The main thing that he thought was important was the service to the community. He was very proud of his weather warning system.
To understand his commitment to reporting the weather, step back in time to 1925. The year Oscar Hirsch put KFVS radio on the air was also the year of the tri-state tornado. This was the deadliest tornado in U.S. history, claiming 695 lives in Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, America's heartland. In those days, people relied on newspapers for information. There were no radio or TV stations to warn them it was coming. Then in 1949, a tornado touched down in Cape Girardeau.
We heard on the radio that the north half of Cape had been wiped out. That's where we live, the north half of Cape, and you couldn't make a phone call.
It hit within a block of our house. Killed a man actually a block away from us.
KFVS program director Don McNeely became the station's first weatherman.
I became the weatherman by default. I had learned to fly on the GI Bill right after the war, and when it came time to start doing news and weather with a live camera, I was the only one who knew anything about weather because I had taken a meteorology course.
And showers scattered through the Rockies and Central Plains, hopefully moving over our way by Thursday.
By the end of my career, 40 years later, that was pretty much all I was remembered for.
Even before sophisticated weather radar, televised weather warnings were helping KFVS12 do the most important work a broadcaster can do.
In 1957, Chaffee was hit by a tornado, and we warned them because a farm woman near Oran called us and reported the tornado and said it's headed toward Chaffee.
People don't forget that you were able to get to your basement because Don McNeely came on and said, there's a tornado approaching.
People still say, Don said it would, and once in a while it did.
But I think we were the first station to actually take weather seriously as opposed to, oh, here's the forecast off the wire, I'll read it to you.
Looking at St. Louis radar in the last 3 hours, we can see how the line of thunderstorms is moving rapidly toward the southeast. For a while now, we've been telling you about the KFVS12 Storm Team. It's a concept we've developed to keep you informed. Hello, I'm Don McNeely. I'm on the roof of the KFVS12 building. And this is not an ordinary construction project. Come on, I'll show you. We're installing the new KFVS12 Storm Team radar. It'll be the only Doppler radar unit of its kind in the country.
Even though people are always coming up to me and said, oh, they're not doing the weather the way they used to. But I know that's not true, because we didn't have satellites, we didn't have computers, we didn't have radar. So that's like flying blind.
Many times, especially in the Midwest, the weather is the news. That was the case in 1982 when a tornado ripped through Marion, Illinois, killing 10 people.
And it looked like it was going to change direction and go to the northeast. But all of a sudden it changed and it shot across Route 13 and then it went right up the south side of Route 13.
The weather also made headlines in 1979 when a blizzard threatened to shut down the station completely.
I live close to the station, so I got in. And except for one guy who was working overnight, you know, on the control board, we were the only two TV people in the building.
You couldn't drive because they had issued martial law and the National Guard had been brought in, and you weren't to drive without a permit.
When we would want to talk to Tony Vogel, who was out at the tower at the time, would say, Tony, if you can hear us, fade the sound on the transmitter. Well, if he faded the sound on the transmitter, we knew he was okay.
It's just tough. It's just tough.
Of course, the most memorable weather story was the flood of 1993.
It took heroic efforts to rescue some of the drowning animals who would desperately try to gain ground on anything solid.
There's so much pain out here. God, people are getting hurt by this thing.
During the flood, all three major networks sent crews to the heartland, including Harry Smith of the CBS Morning News.
Capacity of the people we have met.
And I do remember Harry saying something during that time that was significant about KFVS. His response was, boy, people must watch you a lot because everybody knows who I am.
And as they always have, when weather is the top story, people watch KFVS.
We had the highest audience share in our market of any CBS affiliate in the country.
Coming up, 50 years of CBS. Relive some of your favorite moments from TV's golden age. Plus, we'll answer the question, where are they now?
Now work for News Channel 5.
And later, the news doesn't always go as scripted. We'll show you some of our favorite bloopers.
Take it, Tom. No.
Away we go!
Let's turn up the lights and see if y'all have any questions.
Who is you? My name is Kangaroo.
My name is Dave.
Sign in, please.
Hello.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Chair.
Hello.
Rob!
Call me Walter. Good morning, Mr. Phelps.
I don't like it. It's messy. It's uncomfortable.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Trouble?
Vasectomy.
It's sex, isn't it? Menopause?
Gay.
Damn it!
Pregnant? Yes.
Chair. Chair.
Cheaper to have me killed and to kill me.
I wear the pants in this family. And when you zip them up, include your mouth.
It's just that things ain't the same no more.
The world was better when it was the same.
Hello and good morning. Jim Burns and Bob Reeves with your early morning edition of News and Weather.
Welcome back to the KFVS12 50th Anniversary Special. I'm Jim Burns, part of the Heartland News team since 1979. You know, through the years, KFVS Television has had the privilege and advantage of being affiliated with the CBS television network. CBS, the #1 network on the air today, was known as the Tiffany Network during TV's golden age. So see how many of these classic CBS shows you recognize.
That's it.
Marilyn, why did you walk away from me? Why did you want to leave me?
Because I can't trust myself with you.
What?
You don't know very much about women, do you?
Well, I haven't made 'em my life's work, if that's what you mean.
Well, maybe I never made a point of this, but I got some pride.
Ah, Kitty, look,
What makes you think you can wake me up in the middle of the night to listen to some long, sad story about one of your old flames?
Middle of the night. It's almost 9 o'clock in the morning.
That's the middle of the night.
Would you please get out of our way?
I ain't heard from Miss Betsy yet.
Well, Emma, there wouldn't be no harm if you'll do as I tell you.
Now, you wouldn't want to interfere with your sister going out with her beau, now, would you?
You get up.
You know, a man could get shot and killed for doing what you just did.
Get moving.
Would you have us believe that you gave a perfect description of that lamp without ever having seen it?
Well, it was like this.
Like what, Mr. Sands?
Well,
Go on, tell us, Mr. Sands. Tell us how you went out to the Mary Bell. Tell us about your quarrel with Joe Bradford over the defendant. Tell us how you grabbed the fire axe and hit him. Hit him in such a manner that he slumped down against the forward compartment. Go on, Mr. Sands, tell us.
all right, Mr. Mason. I killed him.
Coming up, where are they now? Plus, we'll break out the blooper reel.
On-air promotion has played a major role in KFVS12's success through the years. A good promo is creative, well-written, and of course grabs your attention. And if that doesn't work, just knock your anchors around a bit.
Man, you are uglier than a broken line of scud clouds and a dying superset.
Oh! John is a man of many talents. Grilling out is not one of them. Tonight on Heartland News.
A zoning controversy in one Heartland town could have neighbors fuming.
A chance of rain in your forecast? The weather...
Is your dog psychic? A new... that may...
up on Heart...
I got it!
That's a whole lot of football.
Golf? Well, who doesn't love...
Hi, Todd.
Todd misses football.
I mean, really, is all this violence necessary?
No anchors were harmed in the taping of this segment, except Brian Allworth.
Of the thousands of talented people to pass through the doors of KFVS12, many have moved on to bigger stations in larger cities. But fortunately for us, some of the very best have chosen to stay.
Boy, I tell you, we've had some really good people through the years.
I love the people here. I think if I walked out that door and knew I was never coming back, I would cry because I'd leave behind some of the best people I've ever known.
Here now, a look at some of the many faces you've welcomed into your living room over the past 50 years.
I'm Lisa Crane. I brought you the 5 o'clock news from 1993 to 2002. I'm now reporting and anchoring at WAGA TV in Atlanta, Georgia, but I think of you all often and hope everyone's doing great.
I've been freelancing, and one of my latest gigs is as a fitness correspondent for Get Hooked on Health here at Charter Cable in the St. Louis area.
I mainly did news, but I also did some sports with my good friend Randy Ray,
And these days I'm broadcasting Cincinnati Reds baseball, which is a dream come true.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris Cannon. You watched me on the Weekend Breakfast Show from 1997 until 2002. A big congratulations from Music City, USA, Nashville, Tennessee.
Now I'm doing actual news broadcasting. That's right. I am the Mike Shane of Boise, Idaho.
Now I am at Fox 2 in St. Louis. I am the medical reporter and the 6 o'clock anchor.
In late 1999, I moved back to my hometown of Nashville, Tennessee, and now work for News Channel 5.
And when I moved to Louisville, Kentucky 10 years ago, that's what I did here. Anchored the news and reported the news.
I'm now in Kansas City at KSHB 41 doing mornings, and I enjoyed my time back in the Heartland a lot.
I'm Diane Anderson, and I used to co-anchor Heartland News in the mid-'80s. Now I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I anchor at 5 and 10 p.m. for Action 7 News.
Home is now the breathtaking inland Northwest, where I anchor Good Morning Northwest and Northwest View out of Spokane, Washington.
I'm Dave Courvoisier, one of the main weekday anchors here at the CBS affiliate in Las Vegas, KLAS-TV. Come on out and see us.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Johnson. I was part of the Heartland News team from 1989 to 1998, and now I work at Cape First, a church in Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
For the past 16 years, I've been at WREG-TV, the CBS affiliate in Memphis, Tennessee.
Coming to you from Baltimore, Maryland, I'm Mike Shue. I worked for KFVS12 News from 1982 through 1986.
Finally retired. I guess I can really retire after the last one graduates from college.
I left to go to seminary. I've been a priest of the Diocese of Springfield, Cape Girardeau since 1987.
You know, through the years, we've made our share of mistakes and miscues, and usually we only show bloopers at Christmas parties. But for our 50th anniversary, we've decided to make an exception.
KIM? I got that on tape. KIM? All right.
Baldy, I'm gonna get you, buddy.
If Mopac leaves, those served will be...
Or it could be the result of an experimental pig hormone. That story is just ahead.
At Town and Country, Country Mart, you've got savings in the bag.
King Cotton smoked sausage, just $1.29 a pound. Nabisco snack crackers, $1.69. Cool Whip, only 99 cents. Duracell batteries.
Because of the surgery that someone did on this bird. Ah! That is a blooper! Oh, God. Do it again. I see you.
One!
At KFVS12, we're proud to serve you.
This barrel contains the names of all the finalists in our Late Show in San Francisco contest. Tonight, as we listen to the Cape Central High School Marching Band, look for the team from your, as we go in and check the band on
Councilman Bill Sparks on the telephone in Poplar Bluff right now, as soon as we can find the telephone here. We lost it for a moment.
Well, basically, peach orchard owners in southern Illinois say that their crop is completely destroyed.
It can be easily taken care of.
And Labor Day is near, so how about a goober burger? I'm Jennifer Johnson.
Kentucky pot's second to none. It's known nationwide, and it's very good stuff.
Hill takes these giraffes all over the country.
You got that, didn't you?
I got that on tape.
Thank you so much for watching the KFVS 12 50th Anniversary Special. We leave you tonight with a look at the people who make it all possible, in front of the cameras and behind the scenes.
The best thing KFVS has going for it is its history, its integrity.
Don't think I've ever worked in a station that had a staff that day in and day out was as buttoned up as it is.
I have to take pride in this kind of work because you usually don't get a second chance.
We just have a lot of good, positive thinking people that want to do a good job.
Do it right because we are KFVS.
But the people who work here are good at what they do and they care about what they do.
And people that work in it have to love television.
Y'all have an excellent staff here now. You've got good programming. You've taken what was started by us old-timers and made it into something much, much better.